Mixed martial arts is a sport that, over the past 30 years, have seen so much growth and progress to at a point where the UFC could not shut up about how it was the fastest growing sport. Now, over the course of that 30-year period, we have gotten a bunch of mixed martial arts focused video games, ranging from the Dreamcast all the way to the current generation of consoles. Still no PC for some reason. The first UFC licensed game came out in the year 2000 for the Sega Dreamcast, and for the next 4 years, we would pretty much get the same copy and pasted game onto the PlayStation 2 and Xbox. These were pretty much just Tekken clones with an octagon to fight in. They were what the angry video game nerd will refer to as shitloads of fuck. Now, fast forward to 2007. During this gap in the UFC games not being released, the PlayStation 3 and 360 came out, Pride FC got bought out, and the UFC would partner with SVR developers Ukes. At E3 2007, a pre-rendered trailer showing light heavyweight standouts Chuck Liddell and Rampage Jackson squaring off. Now, over the next 2 years, we would get some early footage, some screenshots, a playable demo, and finally, after 2 years of development, UFC 2009 Undisputed hit store shelves. Now, you need to understand, this was really the first mixed martial arts game to really capture the beauty of the sport, with there being actual representation for all the various martial arts. Rather than a thrown together ground fighting system like the PS2 era, there was an actual system behind it. Now, thankfully, this game does have a pick up and play control scheme that is kinda hard to really learn and master, if that makes sense. Strikes are done with the face button using L2, that's the modifier for the body strikes and leg kicks. If you want to get the fight to the ground, there's one of two ways. One is the takedown. To do this, hold L2 and spin the right stick. Once in the guard, you can throw down vicious ground and pound or transition to a more favorable position. Minor transitions are done with a half circle motion. They're very fast, take less stamina. Major transitions are done with a quarter circle motion. It takes more stamina, is slower, and it's easily reversible. There are also submissions, which are my personal favorite way to win a fight. To start a submission, you need to click in the right stick, and there are two ways you can finish them. There is the preferred method, which is the shine mechanic, where you spin your stick as fast as possible. Now, some people hate the system, and I can see why. It's bad on controllers. It's not good for your joysticks. But I think the actual thought process behind it actually can make sense. Or you can just mash the face buttons, which works too, just like the SVR games, which is appreciated. And when you pull off a clutch submission, it can feel really good.
He's going for the north-south position.
He's trying to work for it.
He's got his head.
He might get it here.
He's got his arm behind the neck. He's got to pull down and press the.
It is all over! Wow, what a submission! Boom!
Very nice.
It's finished.
They were even able to get licensed venues and licensed referees. At the reported release, this game was so realistic that if you had Mario Yamasaki as your referee, he would let you throw unnecessary strikes even though your opponent is clearly unconscious.
First round. Absolutely vicious! Oh, he buried him there, Joe.
Oh, that's it.
This fight is over.
This game's roster consists of everybody who was anybody in 2009, although we are missing some names like John Jones and Clay Guida, and probably the biggest one, Randy Couture, who I will get to later in the video. But one of the things I think really helped this game was the fact that Brock Lesnar is here. And he's kind of broken. He has insane ground and pound that should not be messed with. But back to the topic of fighting styles, on the game's higher difficulties, the fighters will actually react and fight as they would in real life. So a guy like Wanderlei Silva is going to throw vicious Muay Thai knees, while Frank Mir is going to try and take you down and submit you. It's really good, actually. This is something I do, but when I play the UFC games, I fight someone who I know has a strength, I try to adapt to it and have an actual game plan on how to counter it. Let me know if you guys do that as well. On the presentation front, it's really good here. We have all the UFC graphics and clocks, but we also have color commentary. Commentary is done by none other than Joe Rogan and Mike Goldberg. I got to MMA through my uncle. I started watching in, I want to say, 2010 or 11, give or take. It was whenever they still played fights on Spike TV. I didn't know what a half guard was or a rear naked choke. Well, the UFC games where I learned all those terms. Not only is the in-game commentary really good, but also very educational to beginners.
Oh, that's it.
Oh, that's a big shot. And it is all over.
Giving up out cold.
Are you kidding me? Fight is
Okay, so you got done messing around with some exhibition matches, so now what do? Well, you have 2 extra game modes to choose from. Ultimate Fights mode is a sort of showcase mode where you need to recreate the fight exactly how it played out. There's a cool little montage beforehand telling you the history of the fight and all that, and once you complete the objective, you unlock some highlights from the fight. Which is a great unlock, but I think it would have been a lot better if you just unlocked the full fight to watch. And there's also the career mode. You create your own fighter, which, by the way, the cast suite in this game is actually really good. It only gets updated later. You go through UFC career training and winning fights. Sparrings will give you XP points to boost your stats and train your strength, speed, and cardio, so it's going to keep you in the fight. And I mean, apart from that, it's a career mode, but it's the first. It was really the first UFC game to feel like a real career mode. And of course, there's online, which I can't show you, but I mean, it's a UFC game online. It's pretty basic understanding. UFC 2009 Undisputed was a really good first effort for a true mixed martial arts game. The next year, in May of 2010, we got the sequel, but before that, I want to briefly talk about the EA version. The story goes that before Dana White partnered with THQ and Ukes, he actually approached EA Sports to make the UFC game, who laughed in his face, told him that they weren't a real sport and that they would never make a mixed martial arts game. Well, 2009 Undisputed came out, and guess what EA does? They made a mixed martial arts game. During this time, Dana White was vocal about his hatred for EA Sports and said he would never work with them.
The outspoken boss of the Octagon about his thoughts on EA's foray into the MMA world.
We went to EA and we talked to them about it. EA said specifically, straight up, first of all, they wouldn't even take a meeting with us. They wouldn't take a meeting with us, number one. Number two, they said, this isn't a real sport, these aren't real athletes, and we'd never do a game like this.
If only he stood by that claim. I won't be reviewing EA MMA today, but look out for it in the future. It's not a bad game. Anyway, back to THQ and Ukes. In May of 2010, UFC Undisputed 2010 would drop. Did you notice the title change? Yeah, these games have a weird thing with flipping the order of their titles that I'd never really understood the meaning of, but just roll with it. We have a lot of improvements and new additions, and some small downgrades. For one, the game actually feels a lot better to control. 2009 was a tad bit clunky, but not like Tekken 3 clunky. Here though, it feels as smooth as ever and is really comfortable to play. They added a bunch of new features like to the actual fighting, like you can now use the cage for clinches and takedowns and throws. They've added the ability to be more defensive, using to bob and weave and dodge punches. And the submission system. Well, I think Angry Joe said it best.
You done fucked it up!
I'm using Frank Mir, who has an 87 submission stat, against Pat Barry, who has a 57 submission stat. And I can't submit him. Even while rocked, it took me 3 attempts to do it. Why? What happened to make the decision to make it infinitely harder against the AI? Well, I think I have an answer. This is just a rumor that I've heard, so don't take this as face value, but I have heard that people online were going, in 2009, they were going online with like modded controllers and just submitting people instantly. So to combat this, they removed the button mashing option as well, and they've made it 10 times harder to submit the AI. Don't know if that's true or not. If you know, confirm in the comments, but it's just so annoying that they made it infinitely harder. You can still find videos and forum posts from 2010 that complain about the frankly overpowered submission system. Oh, and of course, the AI can submit you instantly, and you can't do jack about it. Post Deontay here. I forgot to put this in my script, but 2010 has a PSP port that's actually really damn good, and they actually fixed the submission system in the PSP port, and they made it back to the way it was in 09, where it's not as overpowered. So just want to quickly mention that. I also think knockouts have been ruined. It seems I get the exact same animation wherever I score a KO. Like, the Rashad Evans Chuck Liddell knockout is awesome, but I don't need to see it every time. Now, sometimes you can get a cool faceplant or a falling backwards animation, but 9 times out of 10 it's going to be the Chuck Liddell animation, which is frankly kind of annoying. On the roster side, we finally get the debuts of Clay Guida, John Jones, and probably the biggest addition to this game, Kimbo Slice. He's basically a guest character and isn't really that good, but just the novelty of him being in the game is really cool. And we still don't have Randy Couture, and, well, it all comes back to EA MMA. Randy had signed his likeness over to the EA game, preventing him from being in the Undisputed series, and even still to this day, he's not in the EA UFC games. 2010's game modes also see some major improvements, like Classic Fights, or as it's called here, Ultimate Fights. This time there's more fights and more objectives with different tiers, but it's the same formula except now you can actually play as the person who lost and rewrite history. And I like this. The most recent WWE 2K, which at the time of making this video is 25, did the same thing this year with its showcase mode. We also have event mode, which allows you to book your own UFC card, and they do a really good job with making it feel like it's a real card, with there even being fighter dialogue in the intros, which is really, really cool to see, actually.
I have good striking, good jiu-jitsu, and good wrestling. I'm well-rounded. I look forward to showing that tonight with a big win.
There's 15 minutes to win this fight, and I don't have to do it in the first round.
Beating him would definitely help out getting a title shot. It's kind of built itself up to this. You know, the fans are going to enjoy it.
This is going to be a new version of the Iceman. I'm coming after him. It's going to be fun.
Title mode is like an arcade ladder where you work your way up the ranks to win a title, but there is a catch. If you lose 3 times, that's it. You're done, so you only have 3 continues. And if you win the title, you unlock title defense mode, which is just pretty much a survival. It's an endless gauntlet to defend the title. Probably the biggest change is the career mode. This is by far the best career mode in the Undisputed series. This time, we actually have full cutscenes with the actual player dialogue.
Marks guys and offer him a shot in the UFC. Trust me when I tell you, this kid's no joke. Come on, let's go meet him. Mark, what's happening, bro?
Dana, what's up? Why'd you tell me you're stopping by today?
Man, I told you we were coming to check out your boy.
Damn, forgot that was this week. Hold on a sec. What's up, Coach? Dana here's been asking about you.
Yeah, Joe Silva and I caught your last fight. I told him, we got to get this guy. We think you're ready. How'd you like to come fight for the UFC?
Hell yeah. Just tell me when and where.
You got that right. That's right, bitches. The biggest and the best fighters in the world. They all come and fight in the UFC.
Which is really good. It's actually not even that bad. There's also a change to the training structure in the form of your stats will actually decay, which I find pretty stupid, but there's actually a little trick you can use. See, the game will initially cap all your stats at 30. As you progress, you unlock level caps as the career goes on. If you set it to 30, 50 at the end, if you just set it to 70 flat, they won't go down. So keep this trick in mind when you play through 2010 next time. Also, you don't start in the UFC, you start in the WFA, which was a real promotion that was bought up by the UFC in 2006, I believe. And now they're just known for being in the UFC video games, but you need to work your way up to the UFC. It wouldn't make any sense for BJ Penn to step down and fight you. You need to work your way up to the big title fights. Once you do get to the UFC, you fight more elite competition and get the full UFC treatment. One thing that I actually praise this game's career mode for is that your opponents will be more cautious of your tactics and tendencies. So, for example, if you throw a lot of head kicks, then fighters will be more defensive of your kicks and catch them more, and the commentators will actually comment on how you fight. It's good shit. And we even have post-fight interviews with Joe Rogan where you can respect your opponent and put him over, or just go full Conor McGregor and disrespect them.
Alright, I'm here with the winner. You've got to be happy with your performance. Let's take a look up at the big screens for some of the replays. You connected with a very solid shot here that put him away. Give us your thoughts on this devastating knockout.
It's just how I pictured it, Joe. I'm sure it's not how he pictured it, but it's just how I pictured it.
In your last fight, you managed to snag a win over another...
You can even request matches. Like, I lost my first fight to Tito Ortiz. and the game allowed me to call out Big Head for a rematch, and I got my revenge. There's also some player-determined choices as well that can affect your ranking in the division, which is really cool. I played through the career on advanced difficulty. UFC Undisputed 2010 might be the hardest game in the series, and I'm not saying that in a negative way. With how much the AI will like to sway, counterpunch, and reverse, you really have to be good at this game and have a strategy at times. You can't just go throwing strikes like crazy, which I really appreciate. 2010 does what a sequel should. It improves on the small issues 2009 had. Them messing up the submission system kind of pisses me off, but it's such a small issue that I can't really negate it. But also it does kind of take away my playstyle, so that is kind of bummer. But in terms of the game, the positives will outweigh the negatives. THQ and Ukes will actually skip 2011 for a release, and instead the next and final UFC Undisputed released in 2012, and it would become the best mixed martial arts game ever released. Undisputed 3 is where they finally got it. The gameplay is the most fluid and responsive it is in the entire series. It genuinely is one of the most smooth and functional games I have ever played. Striking feels the best it ever has, along with the grappling. Now, I won't talk much about the actual gameplay here because I've talked about it in the last two games, it's the same kind of formula, but I will say, they finally got the submission system. Granted, they did kind of steal it from EA MMA, but who cares. It's an actual gauge this time where you need to overlap your color with the other opponent's color. It's not no more shine system, no more button mashing, it's an actual mechanic, which is really good. It's just a cat and mouse game, but again, it's a submission system that anybody can learn, so that automatically makes it good. And they fixed the knockouts. The knockouts are as brutal as ever, and they actually allow you to keep throwing strikes after the other fighter has been KO'd, which is brutal, unnecessary, and really cool. For the first time, we even get full fighter entrances. But probably the biggest aspect of UFC Undisputed 3 is one of the best on-disc editions ever. Pride Mode. Pride FC was arguably bigger than the UFC in the early to mid 2000s, and when they got bought out in 2007, most of their biggest stars came over to the UFC. Pride is different for many reasons, but it's good different too. It features a ring, which is cool, and it has an entirely different moveset and rules that allows for soccer kicks, stomps to the ground, and knees to the head. It also features its own roster, with there even being multiple versions of Rampage and Chuck Liddell. Oh, and did I mention that this was on disc for free $3.99? I know people have begged EA to add a Pride ring to the UFC games, and while I think they absolutely could, it would probably be a shitty $20 DLC, let's just be honest. Pride Mode is a great addition to this game, and it adds to its legendary status. Now, on the roster side of things, while technically not being in the game, but due to the merger, a lot of WEC standouts like Donald Cerrone and Showtime Pettis make their video game debuts. And we have some extra weight classes added because of the WEC merger. What's notable about this game as well, this is the last UFC game to not have a female roster or feature Conor McGregor. Now, a lot of game modes carry over from 2010, so I won't be talking about them a lot, but I do want to shine a light on the career mode. They removed the stat decay from 2010, which is good, and when it comes to learning new moves, you can now just do it automatically. In 2010, you had to actually learn them and, get points. It'd become annoying when, you wouldn't get the right points needed, so you have to go back and keep doing it, but here, you can just automatically learn that and skip the process, which is really good. Once again, you start out in the WFA, but this time, you can actually stay as long as you want. If I wanted to, I could do an entire playthrough where I never even joined the UFC. Now, I think it actually would have been very cool if you actually started out in the WEC instead of the WFA. Let me know if you agree with me on that. You can also do a playthrough of career mode with a real UFC fighter if you want to, which is nice. So if I want, I can take Brock Lesnar and make him the greatest submission fighter of all time. Now, I'd like to quickly mention the Undisputed Forever mod. This is a mod that adds the 2025 UFC roster with some legends thrown in, and is basically if UFC 5 was made by Yuke instead of EA. I haven't installed it myself, so I am pulling footage off YouTube, but from what I hear, it's a damn good mod. It even brings back some of the online functionality. Speaking of online functionality, here's my complaints. I really only have one, actually. This game had a lot of DLC that can no longer be obtained. But even back when this game was new, you needed the online pass just to get it. I hate the online pass era with all my being. I'm so glad we are past this dogshit era of gaming. I have put way too many hours of my life into this game, and it's legit one of my favorite games of all time, and in my opinion, the greatest mixed martial arts game ever made. EA UFC 2 and 3 are up there for me. Now, after this, THQ sadly went under, and guess who swooped in and bought the license? Now, today we have the EA games, and a lot of people say these games are pure trash, and to that I say, no, not really. In my opinion, 4 was the only one that was truly terrible. Once they added goofy cosmetics and battle passes, they kinda lost me. Recently, I played through EA UFC 1, not to review, just because I felt like playing it, and once you get past its complicated control scheme, it's shockingly fun. I might have to review it someday. But this has been my retrospective on the UFC Undisputed series. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, consider subscribing. We are on track to hit 2K by the end of 2025, so I'm really hoping I can hit that goal. And, yeah, if you're new here, consider watching some of my other retrospectives and reviews. Peace.